In the great scheme of life, we only get a finite amount of time and we better make sure that it bloody well counts. And obviously if you play a lot of Dark Souls, you'll realise that dying over and over again does seem to eat into that precious pile of sand that we've got running through the hourglass. So what if I told you that there were some insane shortcuts that could help you out, get to the boss quicker and maybe die again, but still will definitely shave off those precious seconds. So let's take a look at them today. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 insane Dark Souls shortcuts you totally missed. Number 10. Stone Ledges. Catacombs of CARTHUS. So each time you defeat a Lord of Cinder in Dark Souls 3, there's a little incline in the game's difficulty that you definitely start to notice. The first area that you're granted access to after doing away with the Abyss Watchers is the Catacombs of CARTHUS, which straight away throws reassembling skeletons and lightning-fast undead swordsmen at you. Once you fight through these enemies, you'll have to make your way across a precarious bridge, through a couple of dark crypts and down a huge staircase on which a giant ball of mashed up bones rolls towards you. And if you want to have a fairly easy time reaching the first bonfire, you can skip all of this simply by dropping down a number of stone platforms directly in front of you once you enter the catacombs. This will take you right to the bottom of the staircase, inevitably saving you a good few chugs of your Estus flask. But remember, you do still have to avoid the skeleton ball at the end, so don't let your guard down. Number 9. Secret Prison Cell. SEN'S Fortress. SEN'S Fortress is a literal death trap designed to keep unwanted guests out of ANOR LONDO, the city of the gods. And if you make it through this place with your life intact on your first try, you should definitely feel proud because it is no easy feat. And one part of the fortress in particular demands some pretty quick reflexes from the player. A giant drops boulders down into a sophisticated mechanism, able to shoot them off in one of 4 directions. And at one point you can either try to outrun the boulder up a flight of stairs or find a small passageway at the other end of a winding ramp. Now speed is obviously key here. So you might not have noticed that there's a wooden platform that you can drop down to halfway up the stairs, leading to a secret prison cell containing an armor set and a sorcery spell. Once you open the cell door, you can come back here any time, which may well be the difference between life and death when trying to avoid those bloody boulders. Number 8. LUCATIEL'S Hideaway. Black Gulch. Though Dark Souls 2's level design is largely more linear than others in the series, certain areas do have a lot more to them than they originally seem. With the game's unique torch mechanic, many of these areas are hidden in veils of pitch blackness, and, as its name suggests, the Black Gulch doesn't have an awful lot to offer on the visibility front. There are a couple of little drop-off points along Black Gulch's precarious cliff edges, but one that you may never have known about is just a few paces away from the main bonfire. Using a torch to locate it, players can drop down to a hidden tunnel that reaches right back up to the main path. If certain conditions are met, the NPC LUCATIEL of Mirror can be found taking shelter in this tunnel and will offer you some useful advice for the journey ahead. As far as shortcuts go, this one doesn't take you all that far, but it certainly is nice to have a break from being spat at by those goddamn poison statues. Number 7. Chaos Servant Door. Demon Ruins. Now for offline play, covenants in Dark Souls mostly don't make any difference at all. If you're not invading or being invaded, there's not really much point in bothering to swear your allegiance to anyone. Then again, the handful of offline uses that certain covenants do have prove very beneficial indeed. Making offerings to covenant leaders sometimes grants you exclusive items, or in the case of the Chaos Servant Covenant, a very handy shortcut. If you offer 30 humanities to the fair lady to ease her suffering, a sliding door at the bottom of the Demon Ruins is able to be opened from the front, allowing early access into the forsaken city of Lost Izalith. How anyone could know this without consulting the wiki though is definitely a question for the ages. This shortcut is also the easiest way to spare Solaire from his sad fate of going hollow, enabling him to be summoned for the final boss against Lord Gwyn. Number 6. Ash Piles, the DREG Heap. The final DLC for Dark Souls 3, The Ring City, really pushes the boat out when it comes to traversing the expanse of new areas. As well as the novel stealth and cover-seeking gameplay of the Ring City itself, the preceding area, the Dredge Heap, offers a much more vertical style of level design, which opens up a few new opportunities for exploration. At the end of the world, where all things are crumpled together and turning into ash, the player has to wind their way through dilapidated buildings, rotted swamps, and the ruins of civilizations long past. Piles of ash lie all over the place, and as some helpful soapstones explain, jumping down onto them doesn't actually cause you any damage. And there are several more of these than those on the strict beaten path. One particularly provides a shortcut to the area's next bonfire and also leads to a hidden DLC weapon, the Lothric War Banner. In fact, there's so many you can't really list them all here, just go ahead and see how many you can find. Number 5. Tree to Roof Jump, FIRELINK Shrine, Dark Souls 3. Something that you'll notice more and more as you play through Dark Souls 3 is just how expansive everything seems to be. Leveling up aside, if you want to access the bell tower behind FIRELINK Shrine, you'll have to spend a whole 20,000 souls for one measly tower key. Obviously, that's far too much to justify yourself shelling out at the beginning of the game, so players began to take matters into their own hands. And sure enough, as soon as the game was released, it became entirely possible to explore parts of the shrine roof and not pay a single soul. Starting at the tower door, turn to face the other way and run up the tree next to the roof. With just the right diagonal angle, you can climb far enough up the tree to be able to vault quickly over to the right and roll over onto the lowest row of stone slates. And unsurprisingly, even though it looks a bit difficult, it's pretty easy to pull off once you get the hang of it and allows you to access some extremely useful early game items. Number 4. Staircase Jump, ANOR LONDO. Now, ANOR LONDO is an extremely dangerous area, no matter how many times that you've played this game. After perilously shimmying your way across the cathedral's narrow buttresses, making your way to the inside of the building isn't actually much kinder to you. So would you really say no to a means of cutting the occasional corner? The first spiral staircase in the area can actually be jumped over at a very specific point, which lets you drop down into a corridor that you'd otherwise have had to travel all the way across the roof in order to reach. From there, you can easily get to the main cathedral, where both the main entrance and the fog gate to the boss arena can be unlocked. Now, there's actually quite a few handy shortcuts in this area in all fairness, but given that the bosses of ANOR LONDO are widely considered to be some of the hardest in the game, not to mention the annoying boss run there and back each time, means that you're pretty much going to need all the help that you can get. Number 3. Sewer Slide, The Depths. Now, this particular shortcut is just as satisfying as it is invaluable, and once you know about it, it'd be very surprising if you ever played the game without making use of it. The Depths is a pretty nasty area for the unprepared, with water that can slow your movement without proper equipment, invading NPC phantoms, and basilisks that will curse you if you're not careful. Navigating these sewers takes a great degree of patience and vigilance. Thankfully, though, there are ways to circumvent much of the grueling slog, provided that you look hard enough. Once you've disposed of the butcher and her chopping board, you need to roll through the boxes directly behind it and drop down into the tunnel below. The giant rat that you find there is pretty vulnerable to a good old-fashioned plunge attack, which will normally finish it off in 1 or 2 hits. After that, look for where the water runs down and squash yourself right up against the left wall. If successful, you'll slide right down to the end of the area, skipping pretty much the whole level and providing quick access to both the boss and the nearby bonfire. It's a no-brainer, this one. Number 2. Staircase Plunge, Painted World of ARIAMIS. What makes the painted world of ARIAMIS unique, aside from being a literal world inside a painting, is the fact that you can't warp out of it once you're inside. To escape this frozen nightmare, you'll have to travel right through the level and plunge down from the plank in the boss arena back into ANOR LONDO. So, if you've actually wandered in by mistake or are just plain impatient, you're going to want to find the quickest way to get where you need to be. The main shortcut in the painted world is pretty much in plain sight. It's a huge door just up the steps from the bonfire. As you travel up to the levels above this main courtyard, you can do either one of 2 things. You can A, climb the tower behind you and drop down to a ledge that offers a fairly steep fall down to the door, or B, you can get there even easier by jumping over the banister of the staircase below. Whichever one you choose, having this shortcut open provides that reassuring safety net when traversing the painted world, as all it takes is a short run to collect your souls if you die. And number 1, the lift skip, Duke's Archives. By an absolute mile, this shortcut is easily the most difficult one to pull off right, but if you manage it, however, you can save yourself literally hours of gameplay, and at least one unavoidable death. For you see, the Duke's Archives is the home to Seath the Scaleless, which when you first encounter in the highest tower of the building, will absolutely obliterate you because the fight is unwinnable. But what if there was a way to skip all of this? Now, you might die a few times trying it, but achieving this extremely tricky skip will let you bypass at least 3/4 of the Duke's Archives. At the top of the lift you take to Seath's first boss room, pull the lever to send the lift right back down on its own. Just as it starts to descend, the player needs to roll in just the right way, landing on the very edge of the lift railing. Once the balconies underneath come into view, you need to roll forwards with absolute precision, and if successful, you'll land on the balcony and be free to travel right to Seath in the Crystal Cave. There's no legitimate Dark Souls exploit quite like this one. What is normally a blistering grind through unforgiving hallways can be totally trivialized with this method, and all it takes is one well-timed roll. And there we go, my friends. Those were 10 insane Dark Souls shortcuts that you totally missed. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below. As always, I've been Jules. You can go follow me over on Twitter at RetroJ with a 0, or you can swing by Live and Let's Dice. That's Dice with a C, where I do all of my streaming outside of work. But before I go, my friends, I just want to say one thing. In life, we can often take shortcuts without even realizing that might not actually pay dividends in the long run, such as ignoring our own mental health. And what I'm going to ask you to do today for me right now is not just be kind to yourself, both physically and mentally, but actually take some time out of your day just to listen to yourself. Ask yourself the important questions such as, am I okay? Do I need help with this? Do I need to speak to people about my feelings? Because who knows, you might be able to unlock things within you that allow you to go on and live an even healthier and happier life, and that is all I wish for you, my friend. As always, I have been Jules, you have been awesome, never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.